Bruce, it's a pleasure to meet you. Reading in your materials too that you submitted to become Clark County's Poet Laureate, you suggested Clark County's Poet Laureate should provide a spark to enliven the practice and deepen the knowledge of poetry within the community. And you suggested 4 different areas that you plan on doing that: committee, readings, teaching, and anthology. Explain that.
Well, we have an ambitious program. We're right at the beginning of a 2-year Poet Laureate period. We are starting, I believe the date is July 25th, an open reading at the Winchester Cultural Center from 6:30 till 7:45 it'll be every Friday except the 3rd Friday because of the very effective program they have at the West Las Vegas Arts Council on the 3rd Friday. That's a monthly reading, but we're going to try and get a weekly open reading happening. Then we're trying to bring poets of national stature to come to Clark County and talk to us, to help us connect to the tradition of poetry, the English language tradition, the American tradition, the wonderful American tradition of poetry. We're running workshops. I'm teaching a workshop in beat poetics, free to all who are interested. They can email us at poetlaureateclarkcounty@cox.net. And we're doing an anthology of Clark County poets. We're going to collect poems for the first year and put the anthology together in the second year. And we have an ambitious program which includes some other things like poets in the schools. And we have a group of Poet Laureate representatives. Those are groups of poets, Clark County native poets, people who arose here, who have been, I've known for 10 years or more. They're wonderful poets. We have a lot of active tradition here, and I want the people of Clark County to be able to access it more.
That seems like a lot of internal communication or uplifting the stature of poetry internally. Now, externally, you also want to build a bridge between Las Vegas and other national poetry communities. How do you do that, and why is that important, Bruce?
Well, you know, there's a lot of different ways to do that. And I want to be clear, there's a lot of people doing that right now. The Poetry Slam, Las Vegas has a Poetry Slam team, which is sending people, Las Vegas slam poets to the Slam Championships, which are going to be held this year in Oakland, California. They've been held in previous years in Portland, back east, Colorado. They've been held all over. It's important that we connect to the English and American tradition of poetry, because, you know, achievement in the arts comes from generations and artists standing, if you will, on the shoulders of one or the other. So we stand on the shoulders to some extent. We start where the last generation left off. We work forward. We work together in many, poetry is an individual art, but the practice and the knowledge and the techniques are something that are passed among communities. And I want our Clark County poets, who are excellent, to be able to have access to the national, what's happening nationally in the United States. We have a great MFA program here in Las Vegas at UNLV. They've made it a program of national prominence. But I hope that with my time as Clark County Poet Laureate, to do something that will be arise more broadly based from the community, and that will be, all of our programs are free. You know, you don't have to admit to a selection process to be a part of our process. And that's not to say anything bad about the nationally stature programs, but we're trying to do something that is broad based, and it just has a little different emphasis.
Reading through your education and your experience, you've been on both ends of the coast, in the Bay Area and in New York City, both very active in both of those communities, but you've also been in Las Vegas for 20 years, and what I would say during the halcyon days of poetry at Cafe Enigma and Cafe Espresso Roma.
Yeah.
How is that? Are you trying to recapture that era or build on that era, or does it have anything to do with poetry in 2015 as it was 15 or 20 years ago?
Well, I hope we can build on that era. There were, for those who don't know, wonderful readings at Cafe Espresso Roma, which was hosted by John Emmons and a succession of other poets as well who were involved in the organization and hosting of that reading. That reading was going when I came here in 1995. And then the Enigma Garden Cafe readings became very prominent in late 90s, I think, and before the Enigma Garden Cafe was torn down. Those were great readings. Those were great times. And I think, I like to think that some of my best work was composed against the background of those communities and those readings. But I think we can build on that. I think that the tradition should be open. Those were all open communities. I want what we do to be open broadly to poets at all levels of Clark County, because I think both that's how people will gain the most knowledge, and the practice of poetry will expand more broadly among the populace. And that kind of approach is also likely to release from the native population whatever extraordinary talent we may have amongst a city of 2 million people. And I think it's likely we do have some.
Also very fascinating in your biography, Bruce, you studied under and also with famed beat poet Allen Ginsberg. Is he your favorite poet, or has he been the most influential person in poetry in your world?
Allen was very influential. He was very important to me as a poet, as a teacher. He was a very patient teacher. I was very interested in the beat era, beat poetics, beat writing, and I don't think there's another poet who did it with the intellectual expansiveness that Allen did. I think he was an American ecstatic, an American original, and he was a great poet. And when he passed away, poetry all over the nation, poets were sorry for, mourned him. And I think it was a step backward for poetry in terms of its influence on the culture in general. But I also had relations with a variety of other beat poets. Gregory Corso was a marvelous show to watch. We brought Diane DePrima to Las Vegas in the late 90s and early 2000s 2 times. Michael McClure, the beat poet, and was also winner of an Obie Award for his plays and such. We brought him to Las Vegas. So, I just want to see our poets access the really vibrant tradition of American poetry that's out there for us to just reach out and be a part of it.
I have a plethora of more poetry questions for you, but I'd rather hear you give us some. Would you do it for us?
I'd love to do that, yeah. I'm going to read from my book, which is, this book is Ghosts Among the Neon, and you can see me, that's one of the ghosts there on the strip and in front of one of our famous Las Vegas signs. And this poem is called Life in Las Vegas. Even in the shadow of Casinosaurus, life springs irrepressible from the sands. Artists, poets, lovers, children, dream of the 7th gold city. To those who see in Vegas always what is small, we shall contain strange multitudes. Old West gun-racked in a pickup. The Liberace Museum. Street dudes lined up to work. New West corporate Disney-saurus. Every great nation's culture presented in a buffet cuisine. Las Vegas, L.A. extended east to absurdity. A strip of Hollywood Babylon spread-eagled over the Sierra. Las Vegas, the only town with enough twisted imagination to conceive a life-size replica of New York, and the humor to call that a resort. Casinosaurus gold flashes in teeth, but maybe here will be raised up the new man, beautiful, sexual, immune to breasts on a billboard. Casinosaurus drowses in the dawn after a typical night on the kill. Later, the sun will plump up like a tomato going bad. Later, the beast will stretch its talons in advertising and roar back about blackjack, insurance, and family fun. But there's also the gathering of the art tribe on the sands. Or I'm alone, 6 a.m., writing poems in the natural light of the desert. In a moment before the desert begins, when casino neon still outshines the sun, and here I am, a Jew in the desert, found in the fabled 7 cities of gold, Flamingo, Dunes, Sahara, We are shimmering.
Fantastic stuff, Bruce.
Thanks for having me.
For more information on anything you're doing or somebody that's watching this, how can they find out more information?
Well, Clark County has some information up on their website. We have open readings set. But let me just say, if you want to email Poet Laureate, Clark County at cox.net, we have workshops planned, open readings. We'd be glad to hear from you.
Look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.